Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make over some items and we're going to start with this secretary that my daughter is getting rid of. I had it in the store before when she took it and it just didn't sell, and I think it's this oak, and I know a lot of you love oak, and I do. I used to have it in my house. Just about everything that I had was oak, and a lot of it the tiger oak, but it was popular then, and now it just doesn't seem to be. Nobody seems to want to buy it like this, so I'm sorry if I offend you by painting this. But this is going to get 2 coats of the color Sawmill Gravy. So I had a vision for this one once I found out that she was getting rid of it, and ordered a transfer for this. And I don't generally like to spend too much money on my furniture to sell, and I don't generally buy transfers just for them. I usually just kind of use bits and pieces. But this particular one, I wanted it to look a certain way, and so I just got on Amazon and found this transfer. I don't generally do anything either that is so specific on an item that would limit it so much. But this one I feel safe in doing because it's such a small secretary. And I'm going to paint the inside of this. This is just a pink that I mixed up. I used soft pink and I added a little bit of pine cone and some buttercream, and ended up with this softer color of pink. And I'm going to paint the inside of the drawers and down the sides, and then the inside of the secretary. This particular one doesn't have any shelves or anything in it. So this is the transfer that I ordered, and I was really happy with it when I got it back. And so I'm just having to kind of piece this on here, and because it has a big space there in the center, I did a little bit of script stamping on it, and then I took some of the extra little pieces on the bottom and put on that drawer. And I don't know how I missed that footage, but I did. So, and then I took some sandpaper and just gave this a light distress, and then finished it off with some clear matte finish. And then there is my scripture stencil on the side of the drawer. That's something that I usually do to furniture pieces if they have a drawer. I feel like that's a nice little surprise when they open the drawer. So the next item that I'm going to make over is this little hat box. I've had it in the store for a while. I kind of like the look of it just the way it is, but it hasn't sold, so I guess it's too plain. And I'm just going to make this over, but I'm going to kind of make this one kind of simple. So I will replace this ribbon, and I'm going to paint the lid. The rest of the box, I'm going to keep it the way it is. And this is that same pink that I mixed up, and I wish I could tell you how I mixed this. I just kind of kept adding until I got the look that I liked. I do that very often. I should try to keep up with it a little better so that if anyone asks, but this is just one that I just put a little in, and if it wasn't enough, I put a little more in. So this lid will get 2 coats of this color, and then I'll let that dry well. And then once this dries well, I'm just going to apply this stencil on. And I'm going to use this, instead of using it with paint, I like to do these real detailed stencils with my Stays On ink. So I'm just going to use some black Stays On ink and apply this to the top of this lid. Now I'm going to try it 2 different ways here. Because I have the little makeup brushes that I use, and not everyone has that. So I tried to use a makeup sponge here. I mean, it works, but I wasn't real happy with how it worked. It's a lot harder, and so I end up just switching over to that same makeup brush that I used. And these makeup brushes that I use, you can find them everywhere now. You'll find them in the makeup department, and some people are even putting them in the craft department. And if you go on Amazon, just search scrapbooking stencil brush, and these will come up. They're not very much. You can get them at a really good price. So this stencil is all that I'm going to do to the top of this box because, again, I want to keep this one really simple. And then, as I often do, I'm going to use my stamp pad to just do some fake distress around the edges of this. And I'll seal this with a clear coat when I'm finished. And I think I used the Dixie Belle clear matte coat. Or I think I used the clear flat coat. Now I bumped my camera when I was filming this, so I didn't get footage of replacing that ribbon, but I just replaced that with this vintage ribbon that my sweet friend Myra sent me. So I feel like that made a big difference in it. And now I'm just going to take my my cardstock, my black cardstock here, and some other scrapbook paper that I have, and make a tag for this. And I'm going to do that to most of these items today. I'm just going to make a tag to go on them. And because we're doing all the hang tags right now, and I want to give people more ideas on how to make them and how to do them more simply, or to make them go with your item. So I just thought it would be a good time to just add some to these. And I usually just add the ones I've already made, but I'm going to kind of special make some of these to go with the item that I am working on. So this one's going to be very simple. I'm just going to, I always antique around the edges, so that's totally up to you. I stamped on the back of this one and decided that I was going to glue that side down, so that was pointless. But I'm just gluing this to the front of this, and then I just took a piece of a blank old book page and antiqued around it, and then I'll stamp on this one and glue that to the other side. So this tag will be finished on both sides. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I leave the back blank, and again, that's totally up to you. But I just like, sometimes when the tag turns easily, I want to make sure that the other side looks okay as well. And this particular wooden stamp here that I'm using is one of my sisters, and she's had her stamps for such a long time. I doubt this one is on Amazon. But I find wooden stamps at thrift stores all the time because so many people have gone to the clear stamps. And I do prefer those, but there's just, because of that, there's so many of these wooden stamps that are out there, and you can usually thrift them at a pretty good price. And if you're very careful, the stamp can be removed from the wooden block, and it can be used as a clear stamp. I've been successful at that a few times, unsuccessful a couple of times also. So if I could use it on the wooden block, I do that. But sometimes if the item's not flat, completely flat, you'll miss some of it. So they only work on certain surfaces, but they work great on the hang tags. Now I wanted to keep this hang tag soft looking, but I also wanted to add some color. So I'm just using some watercolor pencils here and just kind of coloring the rows in. So I use this soft pink and a soft green for the stem and leaves. And then I layer a little script stamping randomly on this. And then I just string this with some soft pink lace, and this one will be finished. I'm excited because I got a couple, or actually a few hang tags in the mail today, and so I'll get to show those at the end of this video. And you guys are probably getting tired of seeing these wall buckets that I keep redoing, but I still have a few left. So I actually found a couple more that I didn't know I had. So I'm going to make this one over for this vignette, and I'm going to use this same color pink on the top, and this will get 2 coats of this pink. Now, for those of you who don't know, I use Dixie Belle paint just because I sell it in my store, but I think most chalk paints are good, so just find a color that you like. This one is one that, as I mentioned before, I did mix. And I also painted the inside of this. And then I painted that small section on the bottom and the very bottom of this in the color Caviar, and that's a Dixie Belle color also. Any black will work here, and this will get 2 coats. And then after I covered this bottom, then I just took my brush and just kind of lightly brushed over the high spot and the high part of the rim at the top, if that makes sense. Just so that that little rim at the top is black. And this one is going to get a transfer. And I'm just going to use part of one of my Dixie Belle transfers, just a little piece that I had left, and put that on the front of this. I'll try to look that one up and find out which transfer set this one came in. And then once I got that on, then I just took some of my script stamped and stamped some script randomly on it also. And then again, I will seal this with a top coat, and I think I just used the Dixie Belle top coat on this. And then again, I'm going to make the tag to go on this one. And I just happen to have this little card, and I think I got it in a grab bag at one of the thrift stores, and I don't like one side of it, so I just folded it and I'll glue that part together, and that'll just kind of stiffen my card up a little bit, and then that will be a good size for my hang tag, and the color on the outside will work. And there are so many things that you can use as a base for these hang tags. And again, I'm going to use just a blank book page, and I just kind of tore a square just by folding it. Now, I don't cut these out with scissors, but this one, particular one I didn't want to be just torn roughly. So in that case, I just fold it and then tear it that way. And sometimes I take other paper. This happens to be a tissue paper that I had gotten at Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to tear one of these little botanical prints off this and layer that on this hang tag. So I'll just glue that to this little book page piece and glue that on, and then do a little script stamping on both sides of this. And then because the other side has a little spot that has something on it that I don't like, then I'm just going to use a little bit of book page and stamp on that book page and cover that up. So that little darker spot there on the bottom is not going to go, so I'm just going to layer something over the top of that. And then more often than not, what I used to string these with is some muslin fabric. And a sweet friend and viewer brought me some coffee stained muslin fabric, which is what I use, and so I have a good new stash, so thank you, Kathy. And I just rip a strip of that and use that as my string. So I really go through that fabric. But if you don't have that, even an old white bed sheet can be coffee stained and used in the same way. And then for the next item, I have this wall milk caddy that I made over in one of my older videos, and it just hasn't gotten any interest, so I'm going to paint it. I don't leave things in the store very long, at least not over 6 months or so before I make them over. So it's time to make this one over. And I started to paint just the front of these and decided I wanted the whole thing painted. So I put 2 coats of this color, this pink color that I mixed up over this, and just painted the entire thing. So I used some of my small French stencils and stenciled on the front of these. And I will try to add those in the description. I think I can find each of these, but I just used bits and pieces from them, and I just stenciled that on with my Stays On ink. And then I used that same ink pad and did some fake distress on this. I got it a little darker than I wanted it. So what I end up doing is a combination of this black distress and then what I can get with the sandpaper. So what that did was sand some of this black off and leave some of it on, and then some of the wood will be showing through. So it's kind of a combination. And then I'll finish this off with a clear top coat and then make a hang tag for this one. And then I thrifted a tabletop finial, and I'm just going to paint it in the color Caviar. So I'll give it 2 coats of the color Caviar, and then once it dries well, then I will finish this off with some white wax. And the reason that I use white wax on this is because there's a lot of detail, and I want that white to settle into all that detail. I've had a lot of questions about why to use white wax. Why would I use it? And that is why when there's an item with a lot of detail and I'm using a darker color, then I want that white wax to settle down into the detail to make it pop. Now you can do this with lighter colors also, as long as the white wax is lighter than the color that you're using. So again, I just let this paint dry and brush on my white wax and then wipe all the excess off, and then that white wax settles into all that detail. I didn't get that on film, but that's what I did with this one. And see how it makes all that detail just really pop. And then the next item, you can't really even call it a makeover. I just thrifted this little bird cage, and it has a touch of green in it. So I just took my black paint and went over that so that it wouldn't have any green in it. And then once that dried, then I added a top coat to this. And I just want this to be black. At some point I may decide to paint it, but I want it to work into this vignette, and I need it to be black for that. So again, I just brush over this where there's any little bit of green specks. And then once that dries, then I add a top coat to this, and I'm just going to stage this with a little something inside it with my vignette and just sell it as just the cage itself. A lot of times I'll do that and just say cage only, but I'm just kind of showing them a simple way that they can stage it. And my friend Loretta brought me some of the cutest little vintage baby shoes, and I have a few pair of them. So I just use them just for staging. I wouldn't part with them at all, but I think they look real cute on some vintage books in a little bird cage. And now it's time for my favorite part. I'm going to show some of the hang tags that I got in the mail. And these particular ones are from Carrie, who lives in Michigan. So she made these, and they're made from wood, and I love the look of these. I think they're just so cute. And I don't know this long one. She used something to create that dimension around the edges, and you know I love dimension. And so I hope to hear from her on how she did that. I think that is so sweet. And then this one had a cloth tag on the back, and I thought that was sweet. But what amazed me even more about these is the envelope that she mailed them in was just as crafty. So it had this little vintage bunny on it, which I love, on an old book page. And I even think that the way she addressed it was very crafty. So I just love seeing all this talent. And the next ones are from Joan Hink in Kansas. I love these. They are quilters trading cards, and they're made from cloth, and all the stitching around the edge is actual stitching, and they are just loaded with detail. And I just love this one here with the little girl. I love the little sewing machine and thread, and that hair looks like it's made from actual thread. I just love the detail on this. I think it's gorgeous. And because they're trading cards, the back of them look like trading cards, and it's just as detailed. So I love how these turned out. She titles each one of them. She gave one to me and one to my sister. So my sister will appreciate that, and I know that she's going to love it. So if you're a quilter, you might want to look into how to make those, because I think they're just the sweetest thing. I also got a very thoughtful package from a viewer named Donna from Massachusetts, and they were cleaning out her mother-in-law's house when she had to go in a nursing home, and gave me some of her crafting materials, and I think that was just so sweet, and I want to tell her how much I appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.